stream. Pour yourself a beer and join in as we cover everything from assessing and scoring beer through to identifying and fixing faults.
Hello, how's everyone doing? How are you, Rich?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. Just about recovered from being on holiday with the children.
Oh, just about. That sounds good.
Yeah, and the Isle of Wight, where there is one place, no, there is one good bottle shop and one craft beer brewery that does decent beer as far as I could find.
Oh, no.
It was all right. The rest was just, there was a few other breweries that did classic English stuff, which was fine and pleasant, but not very exciting.
Oh, well, it was probably still better than what I'm getting next week. I'm on a big Princess cruise ship. They're not really known for having a great variation of available beers. So we'll probably be sticking to... My go-to last time was the Guinness Foreign Extra Stout. So as long as they don't run out, that's what I'll be on this time.
So that's a decent beer.
Yeah. As Dan has just said, you can't believe it's the last one already.
Yeah, last one for this round.
It is. It's true. We decided to go short and sweet this time, pick 6 good ones, and this is the last one. So, without any further ado, do you think we should open?
Our priorities, right?
Get into the beer.
Obviously, a Thursday evening on a school night is a great time for a Doppelbock, but there we go.
Yeah. It's a great time for me having to drive to Southampton in the morning.
Oh, crikey. It's not quite as far as it was for you, for me driving basically the same place last week.
Yeah.
Right, let's get the important things. Quick glass of what it looks like, and then straight into the aroma.
Okay, so aroma, what we should be looking for this week, if I can do that, and we want that one. Right, so aroma, we should be looking for a very strong maltiness, possibly with light caramel notes and up to a moderate alcohol aroma. Virtually no hop aroma. Dark versions have significant rich Maillard products, deeply toasted malt, and possibly a slight chocolate-like aroma that should never be roasted or burnt. Moderately low dark fruit like plums, dark grapes, or fruit leather is allowable. Pale versions have a rich and strong, often toasty malt presence, possibly with a light floral, spicy, or herbal hop accent.
Excellent. So let's get everybody going. What are you all sensing?
Yeah, Dan's just said my light's a bit dark, and I do not for the life of me understand it. I'm using the same camera as before, the same settings. I've got the same light on the same intensity, and it looks like half as bright as normal.
Yeah. I've remembered to turn my lights on this time. I was one in the dark last week.
Yeah, my main light's on, the curtain's pulled so I'm not getting any sun affecting the exposure. The key light's on. Let me see if I can turn the key light up a bit. Doobie-doobie-doo, companion. Launch GUI.
So this is one of those styles where there are effectively almost two different beers here. In that there's the pale version and this, which is obviously the darker version. There you go. You're a bit more visible now.
Bit more visible, but very, very white light up there this time. Yeah, I think for whatever reason the camera's ignoring the commands to fully open up the aperture. So I could gamify it as well, but that would just look white and blown out then. Right. So anyway, the beer. Where were we?
Yeah. So Dan's apparently only had this one for the first time in February. Yeah, there's quite a lot of these Attor Doppelbocks around at the moment. I've seen some of the rarer ones imported from Germany. I think I've had Animator, which I've not seen for a while, and Optimator, which is the Spartan one, I think.
Okay, I don't think
it's
I've
probably
ever
in the
had
classic styles. Yes, Salvatore is the classic. I haven't seen many of the pale ones around recently. It'd be good to see if I can hunt one of those out.
Okay. Well, Dan's saying he only had this beer for the first time in February. It's one that I had back when I did my training, and it stuck with me as sort of a nice treat now and again ever since then.
Yeah, yeah, it's definitely one I use as an example of a classic style when I've done training sessions before, or when I'm just introducing people to interesting beers.
Yeah, I mean, people know me. I'll have stout any time of year, but for me, this is more a winter beer for me. Right.
Yeah, autumn winter thing mostly.
So let's go back up.
We've got from Matthew a high level of wholemeal toast like malt. Yeah, I could definitely go with the wholemeal bready toasty thing.
Yeah.
That's definitely there. And we've got dried fruit from Dan and Sorry, which is a nice combo of the two.
Yeah.
As a malt loaf. I probably wouldn't write that in the exam. Americans won't have any idea what you're talking about.
Mind you, they keep doing it to us with their s'mores and their graham crackers.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sorry malt loaf is a good call. My boy used to love that as a kid.
Might be understood, but yeah, Sorry definitely isn't.
Yeah, I mean, it probably wouldn't travel well to the US, but sort of if you got UK proctors, then they'll probably say the same thing.
Yeah, could do. The problem is the markers are usually American.
Yeah, but I mean, what they normally do is compare what the proctors said to the examinees, and that. Three words.
We've got from Matthew, dry dark fruits like Christmas dates. And milk chocolate, definitely go with the chocolate. Yeah, I like the call of dates. Yeah, I was going more towards prune, but I like date. That's a good call.
Yeah, I agree. I think it is as well. Like we know what graham crackers. Yeah, it's a constant descriptor I always used to hear, and it's like, one of these days I'm going to try one of these things to see what it's supposed to be like.
That's when those American sweet shops and see if they've got them. Just the experience.
And anyone getting a tiny bit metallic from Dan?
Not really fully metallic, but I think there's a little bit of. I'm getting a little bit of spiciness.
Yeah.
One of the words in the description is quite interesting. While we're talking here, is the I think I'm quoting three words, and they're not getting metallic and the spice, maybe clove. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
Is the rich Maillard products?
Yeah.
Which is a brewing and cooking term, really, for anything that's a darkening reaction between proteins and sugars. Which can go almost anywhere. It's one of these words people throw around and isn't hugely descriptive.
Yeah, I think I'll go with clove rather than metallic for me.
Yeah, I was going towards pepper.
Good call.
But yeah, same area. Matthew's getting a slight alcohol, but on a deep sniff only. Yeah, maybe. It may be what I'm pulling out as sort of a peppery thing.
Oh, smells so good though.
I can sit here and sniff this all afternoon or evening.
Going retronasal as an excuse for a swig.
It's a good excuse. So
sticky toffee pudding. I like that.
Yeah. I'm definitely getting some things in the sort of caramel toffee area as well.
Yeah. Might be a bit cold yet, David says. Yeah, I mean, I got mine out of the fridge about 22, so they're just about right now. My beer fridge is at 9 in the summer, so it should probably be 12ish by now.
Mine's a little bit colder, but I run my beer fridge pretty chilly because you can always warm beer up. You just can't cool it down.
True. And treacle from Dan as well.
Yeah.
Okay,
Can we
then.
move on to some scores for this?
Yeah, score sounds good. Aroma then. Out of 12 points, we're talking about the malt, the hops, the esters, the other aromatics, and how they compare to what we said in the style guide. If all of those things match, it's 12 points. So let's pull up Notepad early this week and keep a track as I go.
I'll find my piece of paper and pen.
Yeah, I keep meaning to bring a notepad back in here. They're all in the other room where I moved the room around the other day.
Yeah.
So, strong maltiness, possibly
Yeah,
light
I'm liking the dark treacle description. I mean, it sort of wraps in some of the almost toasty notes as well.
Yeah.
So, Freewood's asking what's his fruit leather. Fruit leather is effectively where you take fruit puree, flatten it out, and dry it out. There's a kids version you get. It's a roll-up thing.
Mm.
But it's more of a craft version of those sort of fruit roll-ups that kids get. Once again, the fruit winders, but it's a more craft version of that with more fruit in it and less chemicals.
Winders.
But actually, I think the fruit winders are actually really claimed to be a lot of fruit. It looks like flypaper. Yeah, thick flypaper.
Yeah.
But the version I think the description is more like an unspecified dried fruit aroma is where I tend to put that. But yeah, it's quite a specific one, a description.
Yeah. So, out of 12, what are people doing?
And also, while you're thinking that, so these aromas we're getting, what would you attribute to them? The malt, what the yeast, what to hops, and what to something else? And are there any off flavors, aromas?
Yeah, that's always good things to be thinking about. Should feature in your descriptions. It's easy to forget that sometimes when you're just sniffing a really nice beer.
Yeah, and it's quite difficult to break them down sometimes, especially. But this one's not that hard since you're mostly talking probably malt derived things and a few yeast derived things. It's worth with something like this thinking. I don't think you get it in this or around some of the more lager related aromas. So, are you getting any sulfur? How clean is the ferment? That kind of thing. I'm not picking up any sulfur in this one. But in the light version, you can get a little bit, and it's not called out in the description, so you should probably mention it.
Yep, we've got, what was it, 12 from 3 words? And 12 again from Matthew. So both of them saying they can't find a reason to dock any points and can't think of anything to subtract. Dan is going 10. Okay, yeah. It does specifically say that if you get that, it's wrong. It should never be roasted or burnt. Dark fruit is higher than in guidelines. Moderately low. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I could go with the where I was thinking was a similar thing here, that I think the dark fruit is higher than I'd expect, but a little bit. It's not massively so. I'm not really getting much in the sort of burnt character, but I think I'd put the sort of dark fruit leathery thing at medium to high rather than moderately low.
Yeah. I mean, that's the main thing I decided to knock a point off for. So for me, it's 11.
Yeah, I've gone 10, but yeah, 11 is equivalent either way. Yeah, David's gone with a 12 again. Might drop it to an 11 later.
Cool.
Yeah, it's all, they're all high. They're all within the ballpark. Yeah, somewhere between 9 and 12. I think it's perfectly valid there.
Okay, then shall we move on to looking at the beer then? So appearance, we're talking about the colour, the clarity, the head, retention, colour and texture of the head. And just holding this up to this very bright studio light, it's crystal clear.
Yeah, I'm getting the dark version with there's a bit of sort of ruby brown in there. It's definitely not black.
Yeah.
And it's very clear. We might as well get people to put scores as well as their comments in at the same time on this.
Yeah, especially for the low ones, like only 3 or 5 points. Feel free to just bung your score in at the same time.
But for me, I had a really good head at the beginning, but it sort of vanished. So for me, that's not giving me a persistent head. But yours looks a lot better than mine does. So
I did just top it up from the bottle sort of halfway through aroma.
Make a bit more room in my glass so I can give it a bit of a swirl.
But yeah, nice lacing on it, staying on the side of the glass there. So, what was it supposed to be then? Good clarity, large, creamy, persistent head. So yeah, I see what you mean. It's not what I'll call persistent. I'm down to just a ring around the edge now as well. Dark versions of copper to dark brown, often with ruby highlights and an off-white head.
Yeah, it's definitely in the dark brown range. He says he's going to get his app up. Yeah, dark brown's a very dark brown.
So where were we? Dan says, yeah, there's still a bit more head on it. Hold it up to the camera, not the light, might help. But it is literally just around the edge of the glass, that. Spot on 3. Dan's going for a 2.
Oh, nice description from David here. Beautiful dark ruby red, clear as a bell, with a fine tan head. Head has displayed quite quickly in a slight halo, so he's going with a 2. And
I like that. That's some good descriptors there.
And from Matthew, yeah, very dark brown with ruby edges, very clear. Beige head because you can find bubbles. Good call out on the sides of the bubbles there. That's nice. Large initially, gradually reducing to a thin cap, so he's gone with a 3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think personally I'd probably have gone with a 2. If I was in a judging room with another judge, we'd be looking at each other's glass, see if one of us had something in the glass, like it was not been washed very well.
Yeah.
Because we quite often go through the glasses multiple times, and there's some poor people in the background washing away madly. So it'd be nice that if there are people washing your glasses, they're doing a really good job. So sometimes, yeah, something goes wrong.
So yeah, I mean, it's a 2 for me, this one, mainly because it's lacking that retention, that it's really asking for a large, creamy, persistent head, and I'm not getting that. But other than that, it hits the mark. The colour's right, the clarity's right. Texture on the head when you first pour it's lovely. It's all good, just needs to hang around a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think I agree with the 2 for that. I'd be commenting on the head retention and saving up some thoughts about that for later.
Cool. Okay then, on to flavour. Let's get tasting the beer. So it's 20 points, so you can hold off on the points for now. We'll talk about the characteristics first. It's malt, hops, fermentation characteristics, balance, finish, aftertaste, and any other flavour characteristics. So what are people tasting? What's the first thing you're getting when you get this beer in your mouth? Good call there from Dan.
Yeah, that's a nice alternative to Ring and Halo. I like it.
Yeah.
So
good.
It's also while we're doing this section, it's also worth seeing whether we're bringing back words that we were using for aroma. I quite often use follows the aroma or something like that, especially if I need to fill up space.
So what should we be looking for in the flavour then, Rich?
So we're looking for very rich and malty. Hop bitterness varies from moderate to moderately low, but always allows malt to dominate the flavour. Faint hop flavour optional. Most examples are fairly malt sweet on the palate. should have an impression of attenuation in the finish. The impression of sweetness comes from low hopping, not from incomplete fermentation. Clean fermentation profile. Dark versions have malt and ester flavors similar to the aroma, same descriptions and intensities. Pale versions have a strong bready and toasty malt flavor with a light floral, spicy, or hot herbal hop character and a drier finish.
Nice.
I think Dan's just been stunned by the flavour. At least he says he has. I think we need a little bit more description than stunning. Though it is a very nice beer. So we've got, from 3 words, some very strong toffee treacle. There's a fair level of bitterness, maybe more than I'd be expecting. Getting to the sides of the tongue. Yeah, I think the treacle toffee call is a good one. Yeah, I'll be going with something in that area or in the burnt sugars, at least as one of the descriptors.
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, it is worth considering whether the bitterness matches what we're expecting.
So is anyone getting any hop flavour? We didn't really hear anyone say anything about it in the aroma, so I'm guessing no one was getting anything hop related. It might have been a slightly spicy hop that was causing me to come up with that. It could have been very slightly phenolic that was giving me the cloves.
So we've got, first taste is rich dark treacle from David. Treacle malt that persists with a mild moderate bitterness. It develops slowly, leaving a lingering bittersweet taste in the palate.
And he thinks it's hop bitterness. Okay.
I like the treacle call from everyone so far. The question is, are any of the fruity things that people sensed in the aroma carrying over into the flavour? I think for me, some of them are. Definitely the treacle call came up. I'd probably be talking more burnt sugar or dark caramel, but treacle is an equally good descriptor.
Yeah, treacle's good. A little bit of almost bonfire toffee I'm getting, which is very treacly, a bit molassesy.
We've got from Matthew, strong, rich wholemeal toast, some black treacle, faint spicy hop, quite balanced with moderate bitterness. And 3 words with a touch of plumminess. Dan, who is no longer stunned, has some
certainly
dark
not
bread
speechless
crust.
Now, is he?
dark bread crust from the malt initially, followed by raisins and most dried fruit character. Nice dark treacle sweetness coming through at the medium level, but the moderate bitterness is cutting the sweetness. Yeah, I like it's good use of the levels there. Once again, you can throw them in everywhere. Basically, pretty much every descriptor, when you're doing the exam score sheets in particular, should have a level on it.
Mm-hmm.
And David's still getting the flavour of dates, but it's close to the treacle flavour for me. Used to be a dark Highland toffee sweet as kids, and it totally reminds me of that.
Yeah, I can see that.
Very specific. And then on the competition score sheet, that's probably great. I probably would just stick with the Highland toffee is probably okay. Not for an exam one.
Yeah, some good descriptions coming out. Remember your levels if you're not using them. So always thinking about what you're getting, how much of it, and what type. Where's it coming from as well? So, I mean, it's like, is it hop bitterness? Is there some astringency there from darker malt? Is there sort of sweetness left over from the thing that's contributing to that hop bitterness and making you think it's not as bitter as it is? Things like that. Less dried fruit than the aroma. Still there, but overtaken by the treacle / dark sugar. I can agree with that. The fruit's definitely more present in the aroma for me.
Yeah, I like the extension into dark sugar as well, because you're thinking sort of soft brown, the darker versions of that. Yeah, I like that as an additional description. The one thing for me from the sugars, I mean, it's getting almost into the burnt sugar area. There's a little bit of these sort of almost burnt stuff in there, which is a little bit less than more than I'd be expecting. He says, going back to reread the flavour description again. It's maybe similar to what some people were sensing in the aroma.
Yeah, I'm with Dan there on what he's saying. He's given it a swirl. He's got his nose stuck in there, and he thinks he's getting some noble hop character, but at a low level.
Yeah.
Yeah, that swirl makes the big difference to that, doesn't it? It just helps liberate some of the aromas.
And as we say, we're pouring fairly full glasses here. With a smaller sample, it's easier to get that swirl going earlier on. I was having a bit of a challenge with that when we were trying to do aroma.
Yeah, if I do it lower down, it's easier to swirl it for me. I'm trying to swirl it up there. It's going everywhere. Yeah, I'm liking that. I'm liking that a lot.
Yeah, look, I think some of the clovey notes come back out for that. At that point for me. Matt's coming in with clean fermentation without obvious esters or fermentation flaws. Yeah, it's an interesting call on the esters. Whether some of the dark fruit stuff is purely malt derived or has some ester input into it. Yeah. Could be either, really. I'd probably say there's a little bit of ester in there, but at a low level.
Yeah, I tend to agree, but it is an educated guess, beer, if you know what I mean.
How I suspect it was fermented. Absolutely.
Okay, should we start thinking about those scores then? So as a reminder, we're talking out of 20 points. How well did all these things on the screen compare to the style guide Rich read out? I won't read it out again because it's quite wordy.
And it's it's relatively short for such a fairly complicated beer.
It is.
But there's a lot of words in there. Dan's coming in with love the finish, how the flavours linger along with the low level of bitterness. Finish medium dry for him. And David saying that the burnt character has appeared as the glass has warmed up. Yeah, these things do change as the beer warms up. Often, when you're judging these, they'll look pretty warm to start with.
Yeah.
It's warmer than I'd normally drink this.
Yeah, I mean, even when I've had it out, it tends to come straight from the beer fridge.
Yeah.
But then again, the alcohol level in it's quite warming, so it's still very nice if you sat there on a cold autumn day in the pub.
Yeah, for a Doppelbock, it's not very strong. It claims to be only, he says, trying to get into
about
the camera.
6, 7-ish.
7? Which is sort of outside, but it's just outside the usual range. So we could have used this as a Doppelbock, probably. No. I mean, most of the ones you'll find in competition are close to that 10, if not beyond.
Yeah, but then again, as we keep saying, we do tend to get people to push it a bit in competition.
Exactly.
And if it's a strong beer to begin with, then one of the main things they push it in is alcohol.
Yeah, which can make this a challenging class to judge sometimes. Though usually you get it either in with the strong beers, which is a dangerous class to start with, or with the weaker box, which means it's more manageable.
Yeah. I mean, probably Belgian Dark Strong is one of the other really dangerous categories to be judging.
Yeah, well, Belgian Strong in general is a dangerous cat. Okay, so from Matthew, not as multi-sweet as some stronger versions with presumably higher OG, but quite characteristic, under an 18. Dan's struggling to dock points, close to the guidelines. That's absolutely valid. Giving one thing you'll find when judging regularly is you start giving more scores at the edges. Usually, when you're starting judging, you'll tend to judge more to the middle. Giving high scores. I don't think I've ever had it out of 50, but I've got in the high 40s.
I think 48's the highest I've awarded so far.
Yeah, I think I'm about the same.
One of these days I will find that perfect beer and it will be 50. And it will be a very short sheet.
Yeah, except with all the send me the recipe and give me more boxes.
Yeah. And just read the guidelines because that describes this beer.
Yeah.
So where are you on this one then, Rich?
So yeah, David's just going with 18. I think there's a little more roast than I'd expect. And where was I? And there's a touch more bitterness than I'd expect, which maybe due to a little bit of roast. The 17-18 region. I'm going to go with 17 for today.
Yeah, I'm about 18. Mainly because of the bitterness, like you say, it is a bit more prominent than I'd expect. They're on about moderately low and letting the malt dominate the flavour, but then they say there's this impression of sweetness. But
yeah.
I'm not really getting so much the impression of sweetness that I'd expect to from it being called out due to the level of hop bitterness. So yeah. Dan says, oddly, he's getting less burnt on the flavour than he was getting on the aroma. Oh, and 17 from 3 words for the burnt sugary character and the bitter finish. Yeah, I think all these comments are valid. Scores are around where I'd expect to see them. And I'll be totally honest, the thing that I found most interesting about this is the scores that people have been coming back with are nearly always very close to what me and Rich are thinking anyway. Certainly at competitions, I've sat down with less experienced judges or novices who haven't sat the exam yet, and there can be a huge variation in the scores. And I think it's part of what Rich said earlier about when you're just starting, you tend to go middle of the road for everything. And you're afraid to go too far to the edges. But we're not seeing that with everyone who's joined us on the stream, so it's great, and you're all doing really well, I think.
We're also judging sets of really good beers, so I'd expect them to be at the upper end.
Valid. We're going to have to do another series of these where every single beer is a great beer, but they're all in the wrong category.
Yeah. Or as we've vaguely discussed, we teach people how to adulterate them on the cheap.
Yeah.
Some of you may have seen my off-flavour kit, hacking off-flavour kit talk I've done a couple of times at BrewCon. Some of those work. Some of them are just silly.
Yeah, I wonder if I can quickly find the link for that. No. But yeah, I put a video out for BrewCon from BrewCon Leeds of Rich doing that talk if you want to see it. It was good. Guess the style would be a great one to do. Actually, I think me and you could make that quite difficult.
Yeah. We'd have to mail them out in white label bags or something.
Well, either that or just pick some of these beers that the brewers have said it's one thing that it clearly isn't.
Clearly isn't, yeah.
So last score I'm expecting was Dan. He's come in with 19. Sweetness lingers a little too much for the guidelines, but he bloody loves it. I bet you're glad you found it back in February and not just finding it now.
Excellent. On to the mouthfeel then. Let's get impressions and scores at the same time, I think.
Yeah, so out of 5 points, we're talking about the body, the carbonation, warmth, creaminess, astringency, and other palate sensations. And as per usual, it's that point in the evening where the second bottle gets opened.
while you're pouring, we're expecting medium full to full body, moderate to moderately low carbonation, very smooth without harshness, no astringency. Light alcohol warmth may be noted, but it should never burn. So where are people going with this one? What's the carbonation level like on your fresh sample?
I'd say it's actually at the top end of moderate.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what's in my memory. Oh yeah, it is slightly
It moderate to moderately low. I'd say it's at the top end of moderate, but it does seem to fade off quite quickly, this one.
Yeah. I think from memory of the first sample of this at the beginning, moderate seems about right, because obviously the little bit I've got left, because obviously it's far too nice and I keep drinking it, is now down at low, but it's been sat there for half an hour, so no surprise there.
But yeah, it's a lovely. I mean, fair play. All of the beers we've done this time have been good. Hercule even is good. It's just not my perfect idea of an impy stout. But yeah, I haven't disliked any of them.
Yeah, no, it's been a fun set of beers this time.
Yeah,
so,
it's been nice to be able to share these better examples, should I say, with people, or not just supermarket examples. So we had a wider range of stuff to choose from.
Absolutely. And it's like you do on a training course, you tend to be drinking some of the classic examples as we go through those, as well as having a session with the off flavour kit.
Yeah, that one's always fun.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend everyone does that in person if at all possible. Get yourself along and do an in-person 12 or more spike kit, because just hearing the way the other people in the group describe what they're getting can really help things resonate with you.
Absolutely. And yeah, there's while there are some you can either buy in the supermarket or get easily, there's quite a lot you can't. And actually getting the unless you happen to have a beer that's got it. I mean, we with the Manchester group, we have our annual bad beer amnesty where we've had to ban chlorophenols because it's just too much. So from
the annoying thing is that's one of the easiest ones to avoid as well.
Yeah. Medium full body, moderate to high carbonation. Yeah, smooth and creamy mouthfeel, no astringency, no appreciable alcohol warmth. Yeah, I could go with that. I'd probably my memory of the carbonation is obviously a lot lower now. It's moderate, but moderate to high is fair enough. And then from 3 words we've got hits the carbonation body. If there's an alcohol warmth, it's only slight. So a 5 from there.
Okay. So what were we thinking? Creaminess, astringency, other palate sensations. So just working out my score a minute.
Yeah, I think there's not a lot I ding this one for, not mark this one down for on mouthfeel. Dave's coming in with medium full body, moderate carbonation, no harshness or astringency, maybe a slight alcohol warmth. Yeah, the only thing I might think about is whether the roastiness is the roast is going to astringency, but I don't think it is. So I think I'd probably be on a 5 here as well.
Yeah, I mean for me it was a 4 simply because the carbonation as soon as you open the bottle is higher than I'd expect.
Yeah,
it does drop off fairly rapidly in this beer, but yeah, it's just a little bit too much. Other than that, yeah, it's there for the body. It is smooth. I'm not getting astringency, but I can see it is getting close.
yeah.
And I am getting some warmth, but that's allowed. It's definitely not burning. It is just light. So yeah, so it's just the 1 point off for me. And hasn't come in yet. Matthew's probably a 5.2.
Yeah.
It is
Okay.
a nice beer, though.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to talk to family. I'm not opening the second one.
There's Dan.
Ooh. Nice description from Dan there. A luscious high medium body that embraces the tongue and taste buds. Medium high level of carbonation does spritz the tongue. Very low level alcohol, but doesn't distract. No astringency. 4 out of 5. Yeah, perfectly reasonable.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
I mean, to me, that's all but a textbook example of what should be in the exam.
Yeah.
So, great stuff.
I probably might say no creaminess or something on creaminess. That's about it.
Yeah.
With this one, because there's a relatively big box and not a lot to say, it's worth mentioning all the know this, know that.
Yeah, I mean, even they've not had much to say about it on this beer in the official style guide. So that leaves us with the overall impression section. So, overall drinking pleasure associated with the entry, and give your suggestions for improvement. So, anything you've knocked points off for, this is where you get a chance to talk on it. Give suggestions for what would be changed to fix that. So, I mean, and again, we try not to presume process. We can be pretty sure that in nearly all these commercial beers, it's going to be an all grain mash with some adjuncts optionally. But in a homebrew competition, you never know whether it's a kit beer, a pre-hop kit, whether it's extract, whether it's dried extract, whether it's all grain, a bit of both. So, I mean, it's always best to say, hedge your bets and say, like, add more malt or use more extract, things like that. And unless you're an expert when it comes to hops, then try to refer to, like, say for instance it's Nipah, then you'd be talking about New World hops rather than add more Citra.
Yeah. Yeah, that turns out it's sort of wide now, because you can sort of split it into American, Australian.
Yeah.
New Zealand sort of has its own flavour almost now.
Yeah, this is true and very valid point. And for Nipah's, New Zealand is some good ones there as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, Aussie and New Zealand are very popular.
Yeah. Okay, so 3 words, maybe not particularly strong. How do you tell if something is German? My answer to that is don't worry, they'll tell you.
Yeah, it's German on the label in this case, but for a competition, you're judging to the category. Where have we got mention? Oh, very malty German lager in the overall impression. I think that doesn't mean anything in particular. Probably you would use a German lager yeast for this. You could use a Czech one. I suppose it would work. Might be a bit fruitier.
I mean, it's a traditional German style. I think that's where they're...
Yeah, the stock, you say the style is originally German.
So I think that's why they're saying it's a German lager.
Yeah. But then it's worth remembering with a lot of these styles that they're actually a lot newer than people think they are. So while people may have been brewing strong celebratory beers before the unification of Germany, this beer is much newer than that.
Yeah.
That's the original unification of Germany, not the 1989 one. Anyway, stopping with politics, let's get on to beer. So,
in the 6th generation brewing that.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah, so one of my sort of pseudo friends now, who now runs a brewery in New Zealand, comes from one of those German brewing families.
Okay.
He's also the only person I know who has a write-up from Michael Jackson, which I only found out.
Which one?
No, not the singer. The important Michael Jackson, not the
Right, just checking. So not the guy that dances, the guy who talked beer.
Exactly.
Okay, 9 points for me with a point drop for the slight burnt taste that is presumably from the roast of the malt. Makes the finish a little bit more bitter than perfect, but pretty close to it. So what would you give as a suggestion for how to fix that to score higher next time round? Because that's certainly what they'll be looking for in this section. If this was an exam, they'll be going, I can see you calling out descriptors, but I can't see you giving a suggestion for how to fix it. Oh, so Dan's going for a long one here.
Excellent.
One of two. Flavour some beer that brings all the aromas and flavours of the guidelines, encourages the drinker to taste more to discover all the flavours. I love that. Lower the burnt aroma to remove it completely.
And Matt's come out with overall enjoyable, rich beer with a wealth of dark malt character in aroma and flavour, well balanced. This style can take a little more malt sweetness or body, aim for a slightly higher original gravity. Yeah, that's
one way of achieving a higher body.
I'd probably be calling out a little bit more about how to do that. Though you can still be pretty fuzzy on it, I tend to be talking around adjust the malt bill to add more of this or remove more of that, reduce final gravity or original gravity by changing the malt bill or mucking around with the mash. A little more specific than mucking around with the mash, but not a lot more specific. 3 words about with an 8. I'd like it a little stronger, but the malt and dark fruit flavors work well. Bitters is a little distracting, burnt character a little too high, but very drinkable and enjoyable. And Dan's also finishing off his second half with lower carbonation level, bringing more within the style, really enjoying the sweetness and bitterness battle that was going on, but to keep the sweetness under control at the finish. So 8. And 3 was apparently a Paulina fanboy.
Okay, so
9 out of 10 from Matthew.
Just totting up.
So where would you go on this one, Sarah?
35. So I'm just doing my normal thing, checking where I want it to come in. So I'm at 35 at the moment. I honestly think it deserves to make it to 45. So I'm probably going 10 here or going 9 and upping one of the others. For me, it just nudges into that outstanding area at 45. So I'll be fudging my figures to make sure it hit that. Like I say, that might mean that it's a 10 here to achieve that.
Yeah, David's come back with, it's relative noise brewing to me with either reduce potential dark malts to increase the base or kill malts. Yeah, exactly. That's precisely what you should be mentioning.
Mm-hmm.
I'd probably be going with a 9 here, and this is where I'll be debating myself whether I should bump a few more to get to 45. But I think I'm happy at 43.
Yeah, I think that's perfectly reasonable. I mean, it's like 2 points. That's nothing.
Yeah.
So 3 words hit 45 overall. How about Dan? What did you come in at for those all-important final scores? It's so good. I mean, there's a couple, for me, like I say, it's a couple of niggly bits, minor tweaks, nothing serious at all.
Yeah, I think I found that I was a little. I could have added one more on the flavour if I felt like going a little higher. But I still think that the roastiness and the bitterness is a bit out.
Yeah, I mean,
sweeter style, but high 40s. Yeah, that's fine. Mid 40s. And
I mean, if you were like mid 30s, then me and you would be having words, but because we'd have to try and meet somewhere in the middle. But yeah, so Dan was 42.
David's going 46. So you've not gone off your own and decided against it. Yeah, that's fair enough. And Matthew's agree with David of increasing the base malt, bring out the malt sweetness, and taking the edge out of the roasty the malt character. I like that as a way of putting both the two potential issues here of trying to increase the sort of strength, body, alcohol of this a little bit, while dropping the roast. So just changing that ratio by adding more base malt's quite a nice idea.
Yeah. And overall 47 from Matthew. Okay. So that is officially it. The beer's done. What did people think this season? What did they like? What didn't they like? What would they like to see more of? What would they like to see less of? And if you're watching this on replay, pop your thoughts down in the comments down below, because we both want to know about this.
Yeah. Yeah, we need to have ideas. We're going to do more of these. Ideas are great. Feedback, things we can do better. If you want us both to shut up and get more guests in to talk instead of us two, or whatever you think is a good idea. And yeah, David's just saying I think he'll give this style a go in a few weeks. Maybe a little bit longer than a few weeks so the weather cools down, so you keep the fermentation under control. Unless you've got a really good fridge. But yeah.
I like Dan's comment.
Yes, please. I'll count myself in that one as well. I do like a good Doppelbock.
The ability to order all beers in together was fantastic.
Thanks to Gemoff. I will say thanks to them again next time I pop in for helping us get all those beers together. And for those of you who are ever in Manchester, pop into either their shop or their bar. They're both really good. And they're really nice people.
Cool. Okay. And if I could just bug you to please give the video a thumbs up. It does help, makes YouTube think I'm doing a better job than I am, and then it might recommend videos to other people. So that's really appreciated as well. Don't forget to visit Rich's channel, which is...
it's Tertiary Brewery, for reasons of where I used to live. I will post some more videos soon. I've just been busy. I've got lots of stuff to publish. I just haven't edited yet.
Oh, I know that one myself. So yeah, from David, it was a higher hit with the P&P, but it was worth it. Yeah, we tried to keep it under control. I mean, it worked out at, what was it, 30 quid for 6 beers, which worked out at about £5 each, including P&P, which is a bit more than we would have liked it to be, but we did want to get you some great examples of the styles. So
next time we'll do some shit beer that'll be cheaper.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there was plenty of shitter options that we could have picked to keep the cost down to 20 quid. But I mean, then you're talking like basically £3 a bottle beer.
It becomes, because it's the advantage of getting it from a shop.
Yeah.
It balances the supermarket thing we did last time. Oh yeah, David's obviously going to Northern Ireland, so it's a bit more expensive there.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brexit.
You find someone who's just saving over to deliver you a box of beer.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise, what we can try and do, I mean, there's always the option of sourcing them from a local beer shop if they can get them. None of these beers, with the exception of the Shaw shop, were particularly unusual. Most of them were classic examples that you could have probably picked up in most beer shops. Dan really enjoyed the season. Enjoyed the guests. There would enough beer next time, but I know that is tricky.
We're thinking about that. There's a few ideas there, but suggestions and thoughts will be great.
Yeah, and on the thought of the guests, thanks very much for joining us for the episode you did, Dan. You're always welcome back on anytime. So if you see us doing a beer and you think, oh, I like the look of that, just drop me a line. I'll ping you the Zoom link. It's not difficult. All right, well, we'll call that it then. Thanks ever so much for joining us all this season. And I'm sure, what do you think, Rich? Sure there'll be another one?
There'll probably be another one. But later in the year at its earliest, we need a bit of a break.
Yeah. And October?
Something like that sounds plausible.
No, shall I say about what we're doing in October?
Yeah, October. That's a good point. Let's mention October.
So, next time we're doing this is live at BrewCon in London. Join us where we'll be doing a barley wine. So you can join us live.
Beers. I think they've met us.
Sorry?
They do give us the strongest beers in those things. I think they've met us.
Yeah. It's almost like they know what we like to drink.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Cheers,
All the
everyone.
best, and we'll catch you next time. And